Hi everybody, this is Mr. Boring, and today I'm going to show you basically where clay comes from. Clay is a super fine particle of earth that has plasticity, and the pieces are each flat, so when they come in contact with water they create an electronic bond that holds them together. So the weakest state for clay to be in is too wet or too dry. So here's a dry state, and this is all the old leftover clay. And as you're working, you're definitely going to have some of this. It's dry, it's brittle, I break it up, no problem. It's not really good for anything, it's basically dirt. You couldn't put anything in it, water would destroy it. So this is all the old clay from my classes at Cascadola, from quite a few years of teaching clay. So let's go over here. So I dig up the dry clay and I put it in this bucket and I add as much water as I can. Well, no, I add enough water to cover it basically. And then once it starts to absorb that, I drain off the water, I pour the extra water off, and I'm left with this mud, this slime here. Alright, and again, that doesn't have any strength to it either. It's got too much water in it. So the particles don't really bond, they bond to the water. The particles move through the water. And that's a really important thing to know, is that clay particles move through the water. Okay? This is why when you're working on surface decoration stuff, when you add water to the surface of your project, it's not really going to change it much. It's not going to help you smooth out bumps or anything like that. It's just kind of going to move the surface particles around. It's kind of like moving dust, but it won't really move anything major. So now here, we've got a fan hooked up, and this is drying out the clay. This clay's been drying out since yesterday. What you usually want to use is plaster. I tried to make a plaster mat to put this on to dry it out with, but I guess my plaster was old and it really didn't dry right. So I'll show you that in a minute. So here it is, it's kind of in a half state. Some of it's dry, some of it's got a little bit of strength. You can see it held that fingerprint there. Okay, some of it is still kind of slimy. Okay, so when I get this out dry enough, parts of it are going to be dry, parts of it are still going to be too wet. I'm going to take it and I'm going to do what's called wedging. So wedging is just a way of mixing the clay up, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a second. Hang on. Can you see me? I don't know if you can or not. Hang on a second. There's the Lowe's bucket. Alright, so if I'm in front of the Lowe's bucket, I'm good. Alright, so here we go. Take all that clay, pick it up, roughly put it into a ball, and you start to push it like that with your body. You rock into it, okay? You don't want to use just your hands because you'll throw your back out. Mr. Boring's back is garbage because of too much of bad technique. So what I'm really doing is I'm just rocking the clay. I'm not pushing it, I'm just sort of stretching it like that, okay? And I stretch it and I turn it and I rock it like that, and eventually it mixes all the clay together. It gets it all in one solid piece, so there's no air bubbles, there's no cracks, there's no crevices. It's not like a bunch of pieces stuck together. It's one solid piece. That's really important. It's really important when it comes to attaching clay, whether clay is a single piece or whether it's two pieces connected. Just real quick, I want to remind you guys that with slipping and scoring, two solid pieces won't really stick together. They might stick because they're wet, but they're going to fall apart once they dry. Clay that is really not solid, that's been scored really well, that sticks together, and that's a solid piece. That's going to stay together, that's going to bond together, and it's going to stay together once it's dry. It's going to be one solid piece. It'll have that weak point in it where it was connected, but it'll be solid. Okay, so wedge the clay, and then I'm taking it, and I'm measuring out a ½ pound for each ball. And then I'm going to give them to you guys, and they're going to be yours to work with. Hi, I'm Mr. Boring, And this has been Clay.